if there's not a sense of cultural base of education, the alignment's not going to work.
The gift that we have is that it's within us, and we can truly start the healing from the inside out.
To learn, sign me up. I don't care.
What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations 2018 Innovation Award winner, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads, fathers. You know, let me just stop it. I don't like the lighting here. This lighting's giving me trouble today. Okay. All right. We'll work with it. We'll find a way. So let's go with it. Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show. You know, I don't like my lighting, family. I'm really not feeling it today. Okay, I think that's better. Oh, it's a little bit better. All right. Host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association, and 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads and fathers. It's sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care. And our team has reached out directly and indirectly to over 400,000 dads, fathers, and male caregivers around the world since 2020. As always, I like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. We are broadcasting live on February 2nd. Yes, February finally got here. I didn't know if it ever would get here because January in the Greater Toronto area was a long month. Lots of snow, lots of cold. And I heard today in Ontario, the groundhog did not see its shadow. So that's allegedly going to be an early winter. Not early winter, sorry, early spring. Winter can end next week if we can. Let it end next week if we can. But so that's it. So you're watching Black Canada Talking. That's where Black Canadians provide their points, opinions, thoughts, and POVs on stories from local, provincial, Canada-wide, and international. Today, we are going international. So I'd just like to say thank you whether you're catching the show live on replay. Excuse me, it's appreciated and not taken for granted. So I'm looking forward to this conversation today. I'm not going to spend too much time in the prelim because I want to get our friend on and really get in on this conversation today. So, as you know, since January 6th, I don't even know, January 20th, there's been a new president or a new president, new president back in the United States. And he is ruffling feathers all around the world, but he has now taken direct aim to a few countries, Canada, Mexico, and Japan, but especially Canada. He's pulled out his dagger and he is going all in on a lot of things. A lot of things. So I will say we're just going to take a quick break. We're not going to bat around because I want to get our friend on to go all in on this. So when we come back, we'll have Perry Douglas with us, and he's going to talk a lot of things. 47. I don't say that person's name. He's just the president of the United States. I just call him 47. I think he's written a great article. Plus, he hasn't seen it yet, but I'm going to show him a video, all of you a video that probably many of you were broadcasting live on February 2nd. Maybe a lot of Canadians have not seen yet. So we will be back after a quick break on Black Canada Talking. Black Men Can Talk, a show where Black Canadians come together to have real and filtered conversations about life, culture, and community. Brothers, what is up?
A lot of kids just there just have no engagement whatsoever. They're literally just letting the days go by and they're not advancing in what they need to know.
We really don't give enough credit to how much impact our unhealed trauma has on the future generations.
I realized what we were doing had a great impact within our community.
There we go. Black Men Can Talk. And you can catch that live on Sunday evenings, 8 p.m. Pacific. I'm really crazy. 8 p.m. Eastern. Slow down, Dr. Vibe. 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific wherever you're watching this live and even on replay too, where myself, Paul Osborne, and Kofi Morris, we talk about things from a Black Canadian male lens. So let's get to some homework here. First up, please subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button. Also, like the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. Also, to advertise your business, service, or product on our show, please email me, dr.vibe at the dr.vibeshow.com. And that's it for now. So I was prepping for today's conversation, and I said, so what should I do? Should I show this video first, or should I bring our friend on and then show the video? You know what? I'm going to show the video first. I'm going to show this video first because I want to see his reaction in the green room, then bring him on in regards to this video. So let's do this. Let's get this video up. Okay, and this is from the website, the YouTube channel, The Midas Touch. All right, so let's make sure the volume's up, and we'll play a bit of this video. Here we go.
I have disturbing news to report this morning about the tariffs that Donald Trump has imposed on Canada and Mexico, starting a trade war. Donald Trump has made 2 posts on Sunday morning regarding the tariffs. In one post, Donald Trump said that there will be pain in America. Yes, maybe not, but it will be worth the price that will have to be paid by Americans in the form of suffering, he says. And then second, Donald Trump says that the tariffs will remain in place until Canada is annexed and becomes the 51st state of the United States of America. So for anyone who thought, oh, he's just saying that, he's just joking. No, he's trying to impose economic warfare on our once closest ally, Canada, to make them submit so that he can try to annex it the way Putin annexes countries or goes to war with them. Let me just read for you Donald Trump's posts. And I have an important message at the end of this video about what we can do. I was asked a question last night at dinner. What can I do, Ben? I want to share it with you. Here's Donald Trump's post. The tariff lobby headed by the globalist and always wrong Wall Street Journal is working hard to justify countries like Canada, Mexico, China, and too many others to name continue the decade-long ripoff of America. He puts that in caps, both with regard to trade, crime, and poisonous drugs. He puts all of that in caps, that are allowed to so freely flow into America. Those days are over. That's in caps. The USA has major deficits with Canada, Mexico, and China, and almost all countries, exclamation point, owes $36 trillion, and we're not going to be the, quote, stupid country any longer. Now, this is in caps. Make your product in the USA, and there are no tariffs. Why should the United States lose trillions of dollars in subsidizing other countries? He puts that in caps. And why should these other countries pay a small fraction of the cost of what USA citizens pay for drugs and pharmaceuticals, as an example? Question mark. Now he puts all of this in caps. This will be the golden age of America, exclamation point. Will there be some pain? Yes, maybe, and maybe not. But we will make America great again, and it will all be worth the price that must be paid. We are a country that is now being run with common sense, and the results will be spectacular, exclamation point, exclamation point. Folks, we are now being run by a psychopath, frankly, a wannabe authoritarian, someone who's behaving like an authoritarian right now, who is creating an authoritarian regime in the United States of America, as spineless Republicans refuse to stand up to him, as our spineless media here in the United States refuses to stand up to him. That post right there, one of the most psychotic posts I have ever read. But then I read the next post that he made on Sunday morning as well. Here's what he writes. We pay hundreds of billions of dollars to subsidize Canada, and subsidizes in caps. Why? There is no reason. We don't need anything they have. We have unlimited energy, should make our own cars, and have more lumber than we can ever use. Without this massive subsidy, Canada ceases to exist as a viable country. Harsh but true. Therefore, Canada should become our cherished 51st state, much lower taxes and far better military protection for the people of Canada, and no tariffs, exclamation point. Folks, despite the fact and everything that Donald Trump said is utterly false, notwithstanding all of the fact that it's lie after lie after lie, take a look at the language. When he uses language like Canada ceases to exist as a viable country, harsh but true, it should become the 51st state and then no tariffs. This is not a joke. Donald Trump is using the language of conquest, of warfare. These are fighting words that he is saying. And I know Canada is a peace-loving nation, and Canada was our biggest ally. Canada, we here in the United States respect and love Canada. We have this madman psycho that 49% of the voting people in our country chose. This is embarrassing. This is humiliating. There's nothing funny about statements like this. By the way, remember our reporting back on October 29th, 2024, before the election? Here's what we reported at MidasPlus.com. Trump ally Elon Musk warns of a necessary economic collapse if Trump is elected. Musk says everyday Americans must embrace the pain if Trump.
Okay, so we are going to have Perry Douglas on the show today, and he had not seen that video. But the reason why we're having Perry Douglas on today initially was an article that he has written at buyblacks.com, which is Black Canada's #1 online magazine. And I will show you the article. Please go check it out. We will also share the link on all the platforms in the comic section. And it's called for 47 the Narcissists, Failure is Inevitable. Sit back and watch it burn. We are going to bring up now a friend of the Dr. Vibe Show, friend of Black Canada Talking, a friend of Dr. Vibe, Perry Douglas. How are you, Perry?
Not bad. Interesting video.
Well, I thought I didn't know whether to play it before or after you came out. I said, no, let me play it beforehand and chat with you. So first of all, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. It's just been very busy. Doing a lot of things, particularly with my business, 6AI Technology and our software. But busy but good. Family's healthy, so that's what counts the most. All
right. Well, let's kick it off with the article. What made you write this article?
What really made me write this article was, I'm hearing a lot of comments from people. People are hysteria. They're freaking out. Donald Trump this, Donald Trump that. So, as a student of history, I've learned that most things that we see in the present has happened at some point in time before in history. So when you understand that, you go into history to see from a comparison perspective, those similarities. And I think that helps you understand the nature of the universe, but it also makes you understand the times that you're living through. So mainly, I wanted people to understand that, you can't allow Donald Trump to distract you or distract your life, take a lot of energy and waste a lot of energy on Donald Trump. And, from a Stoic, philosophy perspective, one of the most important things to learn from that Stoic philosophy is focus on the things that you can control, right? Don't expend too much energy on the things that you can't control, right? And ultimately, Donald Trump is an irrational person. He's a narcissist, And as you can see from that video, he's friggin' insane, right? However, you can have comparisons to him when you go back to Hitler in terms of World War One, after World War One, after Germany got the Treaty of Versailles, where supposedly Germany was humiliated. You can see the rise of the Social Democratic Party in Germany, similar to the rise of Trump, which took some time to take place. And then if you go back in history and you look at the Roman Empire, right? All empires fail. The Roman Empire was a great, vast empire, right? And empires fail over a period of time, right? And it always comes down to the leadership of that empire. And what I'm seeing now, in terms of the quote, what Donald Trump is basically admitting is that he's just screwed his country, right? So now, on the one hand, he's admitting he screwed his country, but he's having the bravado. So this is what I say: let it burn, right? Let it burn. And I think we in society, because we don't focus on history, right? We see things, we don't have a good understanding of things. A lot of what Trump says there, people can be like, oh yeah, he's just whatever. No, it's true, right? This is an imperialistic person, with visions of grandeur. It's the same thing with Putin, right? If you look at Putin and his oligarchy friends running Russia, Eastern Europe, or whatnot, and you look at Donald Trump with his oligarchic friends, Musk and the boys, it's the same thing. So what is the difference between Putin and Trump, right? And people, because we've lived in a world since World War II, right, where we haven't seen a war, we haven't seen major conflict on great proportions, we haven't seen massive trade wars, right? It can happen. It can absolutely happen. Okay, history, the arc of history is very long, as Martin Luther King says. Okay, and if we don't study it enough, okay, and if we don't pay attention to it, the same problems come up over and over and over again. So, yeah, he's a narcissist, and I take a narcissist serious, but he's also admitting that he just screwed his country, because he's going to feel a lot more pain. But you know what? Let it burn. Americans, they voted for him. You got him, not us.
100%. So just getting back on the narcissist analogy, how do you see his narcissism driving his political decisions and his leadership style?
Because it's all about him, right? The thing about a narcissist is that they have very low self-esteem. They have very low confidence. They're really fragile people. So the narcissist needs to be the biggest, the loudest in the room, in order to mask their, how do I put it? In order to mask their weaknesses, okay? And a narcissist lives in fear. That's why they have to be bullies, right? So at the end of the day, he's very consistent with other people in history, like you said in the article, in terms of Hitler, and also in terms of, Nero, and there's more. History has a lot of them, right? So what happens though, right, in terms of America, what has happened to America? Trump is not the cause of any of this. He's just a symptom, right? This has been over the last 30 years, since even more than that, maybe that's 40 years, since the late 70s, early 80s, right? Loss of manufacturing jobs, China coming into play, India coming into play, right? Americans could have had a house, two-car garage, and didn't necessarily need a high school education, right, to do that, right? So that sort of wealth and that American dream has disappeared. And you have all these uneducated people, their kids are not going to college, and they're just angry. They're just angry, right? But instead of having a long-term plan and putting their kids to college and doing all this thing and to think long-term, Trump is the person to say, hey, it's not your fault. Not your fault that, the vast majority of Americans read at a 5th grade level. That's not your fault. It's not your fault that, you're not educating your kids. You're not sending your kids to college while the immigrants are coming in and they're educating their kids and they're sending their kids to college. They're getting the best jobs. More and more of the top engineers in Silicon Valley is from India, Asia, whatnot, and sort of these white folks are being pushed aside. So they're upset and they're angry, and the worst place for them is to be in the lower middle class or let's say poor, right? And they don't want to be anything but being associated necessarily with Black people or whatnot. So they despite, for example, Obamacare as an example, which is they absolutely need it, right? They fight against what's in their own best interest, right? So it's absolutely nuts. And Trump now, this is what my thing, and I don't like make predictions, but with Trump, let him do it, man. Let him burn. Just let him do it, because you're not going to stop him, and let America, decline. So that's how I see things.
Okay. So just to do a reset here, we're here with Perry Douglas. We're talking about his article at buyblacks.com. For 47, The Narcissist, Failure is Inevitable. Sit back and watch it burn. If you want to look at the article, there it is there. I'll also be sharing it on the comments section and all the platforms you're watching this live or on the replay. Also, if you want to get a hold of Perry, there's a number of different places. I'll also put that in the comments section on where you're watching this live on the replay. And also, don't forget buyblacks.com website, buyblacks.com, and Black Canada's #1 online magazine. So as we continue on, Perry, with our conversation today, what do you think are the key signs of 47's failure that people may not be paying attention to?
Boy, just pay attention to the history of Donald Trump. Failure, cheating has been his life, right? So Donald Trump coming into office is the same Donald Trump that existed before. Don't forget, Donald Trump got a $400 million head start from his father, right? And he has multiple bankruptcies. He's if it wasn't for The Apprentice, probably would have gone, bankrupt. So he comes in, he's a snake oil salesman, and he gives America this, make America great again. Okay. And what he does, he preys on the desperate. He preys on the desperate, and he preys on people who are not well read. But he also he's also useful to people who are wealthy, like, for example, the billionaires or whatnot, because he will allow them more, he will allow them to just do whatever they want. And Donald Trump also sees the American presidency as an opportunity to create more wealth for himself, right? So from a core characteristic perspective, Trump is Trump. He's been a liar and a cheat and a con man before he got into office, and he's that's what you have. It is phenomenal. It is a phenomenal thing to watch. But the problem is, right, that people don't make decisions with their intellect. And this is my whole thing about applied intelligence. Applied intelligence is a disciplined process of thinking. So whenever a problem comes or something comes about, I have a disciplined thinking process, which is called the 6 steps to applied intelligence. So I put the problem into that framework, and then I think through it. But what happens to most people is they don't have a thinking process, and they just let their emotions run wild. And when your emotions run wild, you just make stupid decisions. And it's like all these black men, like in Trump, they're idiots, and they're useful idiots to him, because if you look at it, right, Trump is talking to them and making them, these black men probably are not successful. They failed in life, and they need something, to make them feel better, right? And they make stupid things and they vote for Trump. And if you look at it, speaking of black men, a whole bunch of them in the Republican Party, Tim Scott, right? The senator from South Carolina.
Byron Donalds.
Byron Donalds.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Trump's boys. How many of those guys are in cabinet? How many of those guys have a job? Right? None, because they're useful idiots, right? And that's the way it goes. So I don't freak out over Trump. You just got to leave America. They made their decision. Now you got to live with your decision. That's it.
100%. Okay, so let's move on.
Yeah.
So you suggest in your article that 47's failure is inevitable.
Mhm.
How do you think his leadership will impact the global perception of American stability and power?
Well, it already has, right? It already has, because people are looking at one point in time, America, it was a shiny city on the hill and democracy and all that. But people are realizing it's all crap. And one of the things you have to pay attention to is that America, remember, was a Republican experiment. It was an experiment in terms of the political system. The most successful, at least in my view, in terms of political system, is the parliamentary system, which is what Canada uses and many other countries around the world use. But the American system comes up, with Republican style of government. So this experiment, American experiment, was essentially based on people recognizing traditions and all these things. Even the ability of the president to circumvent the courts and pardon someone is just it's just absurd to me, because what you're doing is you really have a king, not a president. So, what is happening is Trump, okay, is testing the American Republican system, and he's putting holes in it, and it's not standing up, right? So what you have now is you have a guy who just thinks he can do what he wants. But what happens, this has happened in history before, when the guys, for example, the Republican Party or whoever else, it's working for them, right? It's working for them because they feel like there's too many minorities coming in and all that. So it works for them as long as they're making money from it, and as long as they don't care about anybody else. But ultimately, all these things fall apart. And I'm going to point to, our former prime minister, 91-year-old Jean Chrétien. In his book that he wrote back in 2016, he said the election of Trump is a sign of weakness, and it's a sign of decline of the American empire, right? Because empires decline over periods of time. They don't decline right away. So this is what I mean by it's inevitable, right? That's really what I see. So we don't want to get the worst thing we can do, particularly from a Canadian perspective, the worst thing we can do is just, wring our hands over Trump. We're in a fight. We're in a battle, right? Let's just square up and make sure we put a whole bunch of pain on this guy. That's all.
Okay. What role do you think 47's base plays in enabling his behavior, and how does this relationship affect his political longevity?
Man, boy, I tell you, I study neuroscience. I study, psychology, but that group of people, and I don't want, a lot of people say, that MAGA crowd, they're stupid, right? I don't want to use that word. I think that word is too simple, right? I think what they are is desperate. So when you're desperate, you listen to anything, listen to anybody, right? And when you're desperate and you feel like you're so far down, you got nothing to lose, and Trump is giving you hope. Trump just continues to play that hope, and they will go down with Trump because they don't have anything to lose in their mind. But hopefully, maybe with this tariff situation, they will see what happens. And one thing I've learned, right, it's very hard to predict the future. And a few people have been, saying this could be the move in terms of the tariffs with Canada that really brings Trump down. I don't know. I just, I'm a guy. I have a strong opinion if I have the evidence. I've done my research and I understand. I'll give an opinion. But if I really don't know, I'm just going to say I really don't know. It's interesting times and it's serious times. But you really have an insane person, right? And you have an insane America, right? and you have a failing country, and look what happened with Deep Six and with Deep Seek and with China, right? Well, America's puffing up its chest and boasting, bringing Sam Altman in the White House. They need to spend $500 billion. This small Chinese firm comes in and says, we can build this thing for or we built it for $6 million, right? So China, is the country that's in the lead in the world. It's not America. I mean, China owns all of America's debt. So, China could call, well, theoretically they could call all the debt, but practically they won't. But China owns America at the end of the day.
All right. And just a few more questions on 47, and we'll start talking about the tariffs. Conversation. Do you think 47's leadership style reflects broader societal issues, such as the rise of populism or a cultural shift towards individualism?
Yep. Certainly populism. And populism in history, Trump is the optimal guy for that, right? Because what he's doing, he's going to the populace and he's saying, hey, it's not your fault. You deserve this. You deserve that. He's making them feel better about their mistakes. So yeah, it is not a move to individualism, because a move to individualism is sort of anti-populism, right? Because as an individual, you will look at the situation and you'll make a decision for yourself. The populists now want to band together and create a political power, an economic power that they don't at this point in time possess. So they see Trump and that MAGA movement as the movement to join to get that power. But they haven't gotten anything. You know what I mean? They've gotten zero. Like these MAGA people, have your life changed? Really? Have you gotten better? Are you living in a better house? You driving a better car? Is there less suicide, fentanyl deaths of white males? Like, no, right? So I mean, let them burn, man. Like, there's nothing else I can say. You have to let people burn. And like my grandmother and my mother used to say, if you can't hear, you're gonna feel. So you gotta let them feel, right?
Right. So let's start talking about the tariffs now.
Yeah.
So how do you think these tariff policies that 47's put in place will impact Canada's economy and its trading relationship with the United States?
Well, it's gonna, listen, I think, I don't know the exact numbers, but Canada and the US, they're the biggest trading partners. And if Canada is sending billions of dollars down in products to the United States, every week, right? And all of a sudden the price, now the thing is, what people have to really understand, okay? The tariffs really are going to have more of an impact on the American consumer, right? On American consumer. But Canadian companies, Canadian manufacturers is going to impact them too, because people will probably start buying less. So for example, if something costs $5, and all of a sudden it costs $7 or whatever that is, it's economics 101. You only have a certain amount of income, and certain things will have to be cut. So American consumers, prices will rise. And it's probably going to be inflationary. I don't know, because this is pretty unique. But yeah, prices are going to rise. People are going to feel pain. People are already complaining about prices are too high. But what it's going to do for the Canadian economy or Canadian businesses, it's going to slow them. It's going to slow us down, and it's going to cost us jobs. So this is why Trudeau, said first $30 billion in tariffs, counter tariffs on Tuesday, and I think another $100 billion or so about a week later or on the 21st, because Trudeau wants to allow, which is actually a very good move, wants to allow the Canadian companies to find alternative measures in terms of maybe new markets and things like that. But tariffs don't like it. There's a no-win situation for anybody. It doesn't make sense. What Trump wants to do, in his genius, right, is that he believes, if I slap a 25% tariff on that, okay, he thinks that Canadians are paying that tariff, right? So, but American consumers are paying that tax. It's a tax. So he thinks he can collect that revenue and then do something with it. It's madness. Like it's just like he has no fundamental understanding of economics 101, right? And there's nobody in the room. There's no adult in the room. No, you know, Trump's cabinet and people in the room are full of misfits, losers. So they just want to be there with Trump. So they do not have the ability to tell him anything because their livelihood depends on that, on being there. They don't have anybody there who's so super successful in that cabinet who say, Trump, you're no. They want jobs. Like look at the cabinet, right? So if the you know, if the lunatics are running the asylum, you know, the chief lunatic, you know, is gonna come out with just crazy stuff like he did today. He has this grand vision. Now he wants to annex Canada. He wants to do this, right? But this is serious too. This is how wars start, okay? Miscalculations historically in history, you know, is how wars start. So I take it serious. We are in serious times in Canada.
So again, just doing a rehash here. Perry Douglas speaking on 447, the narcissist failure is inevitable. Sit back and watch it burn. So we're now in the part of the conversation we're talking about these tariffs. I'm going to put up a description just on a website here of all the taxable goods here. Let me just put it up here. So here's a full list of products published today, Sunday afternoon, by the Department of Finance. So U.S. products are going to be subject to Canadian import tariffs. Live poultry, that is to say fowls of species like live poultry, meat, and edible. So it just initially seems to be meat and edible products that are going to be subject to Canadian import tariffs to the U.S. From the U.S.
No, so, I mean it makes
there's
sense.
more though. There's actually it's 210 pages, but I'll put the website up. There's so many, as I said, it seems a lot of meat, dairy.
And
so
you know why this is good, because it will hurt the small businesses in America. And a lot of those small businesses, farmers and small manufacturing or whatnot, those are a lot of Trump supporters there. So it will cause them it will cause them a lot of pain. So I think the level of diversification, right, is important. And Trump, in that quote, Trump said in that Midas thing there, Trump said that you know, America doesn't need Canadian lumber. We have enough trees. I'm sure they have enough trees, but what Trump fails to understand is the economy, particularly in America, based on geography, is interconnected and interrelated. So over the last 100 years or 50 years, 25 years, different businesses that have been able to specialize in different things. It's economics 101, right? I mean, different companies that were, you know, these guys can do lumber better, these guys can do this better, these guys can do that better. And because of geography, right, even though we're different countries, it's like one big economic block. And what happens now is that, you know, you get your lumber from here, you get your thing from there. So Trump is saying, okay, America has a lot of trees. Well, guess what? Okay, Trump, you got to first cut those trees down. You got to build factories, right? You gotta build marketing. You got to do those things. You got to build a business before you can start selling lumber, right? But these things are already in place. You can't just wake up tomorrow and replace them. But this is who you're dealing with. You're not dealing with a person who's rational. So you can't treat him as a rational person at the end of the day.
Fitness IQ Cam is saying, got in at the right time. She wants to hear about the tariff talk. Just going back to that article that I put up, I just want to give a little high level in regards of the things that are going to get taxed on. So let me just put it up here, and it's saying, so releasing the full list of U.S. products that will be subject to a 25% import tariffs as of Tuesday in retaliation to United States 47's tariffs on Canadian imports. Senior government officials say the items selected were done so strategically. The tariffs target a variety of goods, including food and drink, automotive parts, clothing and footwear, accessories and undergarments, cosmetics, luggage, homewares, furniture and appliances, motorcycles, tobacco, lumber, paper, and more. These items were chosen both because they are expected to have an impact on key U.S. stakeholders and because they're products where the impact on Canadians can be minimized as they are domestically made alternatives, according to a senior government official who briefed reporters in Ottawa this morning, Sunday morning, on a not for attrition basis. Tuesday's tariffs are the first of two phases announced by Prime Minister Justin Trudeau on Saturday, said to be a total of $30 billion in U.S. goods. A further round of tariffs on a wider list of American products valued at $125 billion is expected to come into effect 21 days later following a public comment period. The second list will be made available in coming days and will include passenger vehicles, trucks and buses, recreational vehicles and boats, steel and aluminum products, aerospace products, and more, according to the Finance Department.
Yeah, that's good. I like that strategy because it touches everywhere in the U.S. economy. So it's not just focused on one area. So it's just not focused on, on oil or retraction on lumber. It's everywhere. So the best way to make Americans feel pain and realize what their president is doing is to diversify the tariffs everywhere, because people in Florida are going to be like, oh, you know what? We're not exporting juice anymore. Or people in North Carolina, which is a big furniture manufacturing area, all of a sudden their furniture, is going to get much more expensive. But Sun Tzu, the Chinese general, Sun Tzu, The Art of War. With crisis, with crisis comes opportunity, right? So the way I see it now, I see this as an opportunity for Canadian companies. We have to loosen interprovincial trade barriers. We have to be able to do that. I know there's, fish coming from the East Coast and whatever. We should, we're big enough to produce a lot of the stuff that we have. And we also we can do without stuff. For example, Ford, said, hey, we're going to remove all the American alcohol from the shelf. California wines coming to Canada and a whole bunch of other liquors. That's absolutely huge, because this is a huge, and it's about $1 billion a year or more in American alcohol. So you know what? We can drink Ontario wines. We can do without. We don't have to have the California wines. We don't have to have the Florida oranges. And even for the Caribbean, let's want to focus on our Black folks for a second. Even folks in the Caribbean, we should see this as an opportunity to in terms of, let's say, fruit juices or whatever it is. We should see this as an opportunity to ramp up, try to come and make connections in Canada and Mexico, and start trying to sell our own products here, right? So you're from the Caribbean. The Caribbean orange tastes way better than that crappy Florida oranges, anyways. So we now have to take this opportunity to now create new markets. While Trump does we will survive. We will be fine. We don't have to have American this or American that. We will be absolutely okay. And what we do have, okay, is we do have the minerals and the commodities that they need, right? And somebody on Facebook today, I can't remember, said what Canada should do, they should turn off the power on the day of the Super Bowl. I like that one though. But you know what? You have to stand up to a bully, right? No one's gonna come and listen, I might not be able to win, but I'm gonna go down. You're gonna get some serious damage, okay? Because we can't just as Canadians, we can't just roll the hell over to this narcissist, right? And we gotta fight back, man. We're Canadians. We're not Americans.
We go in the corner with our elbows up, right?
Absolutely. Hey, if you listen, we play hockey. When you go in the corners, keep your elbows and your head up, man.
100%.
You put your head down, you're going to go into the boards.
Want to shout out Ray McMillan, who gave a like to the conversation. Always good to have you here. I also so let's talk about Black Canadians.
Yes.
How will these tariffs impact Black Canadians, especially entrepreneurs and businesses?
Mhm. I mean, this is going to affect everybody: black, white, green, yellow, purple. And I think, whatever you're doing is going to affect. I mean, for example, it'll affect me. I mean, with my company, we're raising capital to build our software, and our capital raise is denominated in US dollars. So if someone's investing in Canada and the Canadian dollar is lower, the minimum investment, as an example, is just going to be higher because you have a lower Canadian dollar because of the negative effects of this trade battle. So it's going to affect everybody. And if you're a black restaurant owner, where do you buy your beef from? Where do you buy your chicken from? But I do know, there's a lot of Alberta beef out west, right? There's a lot of pork farmers in Quebec. Quebec's a huge pork farm industry. We have stuff, right? And the other thing is Mexico. Okay, we can still we can get pretty much whatever we want from Mexico, from avocados to oranges to whatever. And Mexican trucks can drive straight through United States through.
But hold on now. I could see 47 not allowing them to do that.
Well, go ahead and do it.
There's always planes. There's always planes.
There's planes. There's maybe there's dependent, maybe there's I don't know, there's planes, but maybe you go through the Panama Canal and you go, who the hell knows? But at the end of the day, don't be afraid. Don't allow Trump to alter your lives and live in fear. We will be fine. And I love this Buy Canada thing, because I think Canadians will discover their resilience. We will discover our resilience. And stressors build anti-fragility, right? And we will discover our resilience, and we're going to be fine. We're all in it together. We're going to be fine. So let Trump be Trump. Let America, you elected him, let him burn the house down.
Again, so any suggestions for Black Canadians in regards to any specific things, any antidotes you want to suggest, not only to Black businesses, Black entrepreneurs, but just Blacks in general? Is this an opportunity for them to strengthen amongst each other? Yeah,
I mean, like I said, business. If you're a business owner, for me, I'm a business owner and I happen to be Black. That's my attitude. So I don't necessarily have any particular, advice, but the most thing I can tell you is just go educate yourself on what's happening, A, and B, go look for opportunity. Because like I said, with in the midst of crisis, there is definitely opportunities, but you got to go actually get up and look for it, and don't depend on anybody else or government to do whatever. If government has a program or something that can help you, absolutely take it. But if you're an entrepreneur, you gotta figure things out yourself. So increase your knowledge. Just increase your knowledge to whatever problem that exists, and that usually is the first step to problem solving.
Do you think this will hurt his support or help his support with his base?
I don't, every time you think, okay, he's gone too far. I don't know if it will make a difference, because these people don't know better. Okay. So if you were thinking, if you are a rational human being with a rational brain, okay, and the majority of Americans, this is a statistic, read at a 5th grade level. Okay. And the majority of Americans are not educated. Okay, so these people are not processing things, normally, as you would think, right? They're not being rational. So I don't know. It's hard to predict. They may listen. People followed Hitler all the way into the war, man. What can I tell you, right? At first, he invaded Czechoslovakia, And everybody stood around and said, hey, it's okay. They try to appease him. Appeasement does not work on dictators. You try to appease Putin. Appeasement does not work on dictators. And Trump is a dictator, and he's more emboldened now because he got elected again, and he also won the popular vote too. So Trump thinks he's a king. He does. So this is what you're doing, and all these MAGA people are his subjects. And you even see people in America who are usually in the center or the left, cave in, these cave in to the MAGA crowd and to Trump crowd. These people have no courage, man. They have no courage. So we'll see what happens. I don't have the answer to that question, but if I had to guess, they'll follow him. They'll follow him into the abyss.
How do you see these tariffs shaping Canada's trade relations with other countries, particularly in light of his 47's adversarial approach to NAFTA and other agreements?
Yep. So basically, what Trump has done is that he's just violated the free trade agreements. He violated every agreement, right? So I think this is an opportunity for Canada, and this is what Trudeau has said. We're going to give Canadian companies time. Let's go out there and find new relationships. Mexico is all the cars and appliances and tons of stuff is being built in Mexico because Mexico has lower labor costs, right? So let's strengthen our relationships with Mexico. Let's strengthen more of our relationships with South America. Let's strengthen our relationships with Europe. I believe Canada has a trade relationship with the Pacific. There's a Pacific Pac or whatnot. And listen, trade more with China, right? Trade more with China. You can get, instead of getting Chat GPT, you can get DeepSeek for free.
There you go.
So
there you go.
Let's keep moving, man. Let's just keep moving. Don't let the narcissist burn, man.
All right. The food plane says, hello, Dr. Vibe. DS here. Good to see you here today. And also says yes, great day today. He is feeling good. Food plane, you're based in the U.S. So what are your thoughts about your current president, the tariffs, all that stuff? Would love to hear what you have to say. So what lessons can Canada take from 47's presidency to ensure future resilience in its economic, and political relations with the United States?
Yeah, I think the lesson Canada can take is that we can get complacent over time, right? And we can have a dependency on others where we should be focusing on building our own resiliency. We should be focused, like for example, with COVID, where we didn't have enough manufacturers of the vaccine. So, we can't wait to build resilience, economic resilience. We can't wait to do that in the midst of crisis. We have to be more long-term thinkers in relations to our economy. And when we do that, these things take time. It's a long-term thing. So Canada has to build in its own defense. We have to focus on, hey, look, after you just saw that quote from Trump, we need to make sure we have the strong army and fighter jets and weapons and all that, because what you thought was inconceivable, you just heard a madman say the inconceivable, which is not mad for him because he thinks he's perfectly rational. So I think we have to focus on building our resilience. We're in a generation that we haven't suffered like other generations from World War II on. These generations suffered, and these generations became resilient, and they built things and they did things, right? A lot of us, we don't suffer, so we don't have that internal resilience and strength, right? We don't have really good leaders and really good politicians, right? Everything now is just, nobody's serious, right? So I think, again, we need to build our own resilience, and we need to, rely on ourselves instead of, relying on others to do for us what we need to essentially do for ourselves.
This is occurring in a very interesting time in Canadian political history. A few weeks ago, Justin Trudeau said he's going to be resigning from the leadership of the Liberal Party. Plus, there's a little Liberal leadership coming up federally. There's also going to be an election this year. We also in the province of Ontario, we have an election coming up right now. What is your lens on how this is impacting all those different events?
Yeah, it's so interesting because when the Liberal Party was first, Trudeau didn't fight back against Pierre Poilievre, right? And he allowed him with this active tax, push the Liberals down in the polls. And after 10 years, it's just the way it is. People get tired, they want change. So I could understand that. So, but I said, I made this prediction only to my family, so you'll have to double check with them. I said, if you get rid of Trudeau, who are you going to replace him with? And I understand. I know Trudeau had brought in Mark Carney to advise or whatnot, right? So after Freeland, the finance minister, after she took the knife out of Trudeau, right, stabbed it in the back, right?
Now, and that's a point. Just one point out. I think that was one of the most gangster political moves I've ever seen.
Yeah. You know what? People don't like backstabbers too. Even though people may not like Trudeau, but that's why she's not going to win. Like, she's just forget it, right? So yeah, that was just a terrible move. I don't for me personally, I just don't appreciate that. So my view is this: so Trudeau resigns, Carney comes in. Okay, and today or the last couple of days, I said to my wife and the kids, you watch. When Trudeau resigned, Carney's going to come in, and Carney's going to go back up. The Liberal Party is going to start going back up in the polls. Okay, Carney's going to win the leadership race, and he's going to win the next election. There's
you think what?
They're 18 points down the poll. Have you seen the polls recently? In some polls, the Liberals are back at 30 something or whatnot. Because here's the thing. The Liberal brand has always been strong. Since Confederation, the Liberal Party has been the natural governing party of Canada. They've led most of the times because they're right in the middle, right? So what it was, people didn't like Trudeau because it's, all this stuff in social media or whatnot. But now, you hear Big Mouth Pierre Poilievre? Do you hear him talking? All he says is axe attacks. Now that Carney's coming down and say, well, we're going to get rid of the tax and we're going to do something else. But what's happening is people are realizing when you vote for comedians, okay, like Trump and baby Trump, I call him, Poilievre. Okay, when you vote for that, people are not really, holy cow, we can get somebody like Trump. So Poilievre is quiet now because he has nothing to hit Carney with. Because what happens now, Carney was the governor of the Bank of Canada. He did an excellent job, and he brought Canada through the crisis, particularly in 2008. He did we had no bank failures like the America, nothing like that. We kind of came through that crisis unscathed. So now he did such a great job that Carney is now hired by the Bank of England and did another great job. And this cat, Harvard, Oxford, worked for Goldman Sachs. So now, what the hell can Poilievre is so flustered? He sent a letter out the other day to Mark Carney, and he had the wrong date. He had January 2024, right? So my prediction is that I think we need serious leadership for serious times, and the leader we need now is a leader who understands how to steer an economy, how to manage an economy. Okay, we don't need a leader, with stupid slogans of axe attacks and all that. We need a serious leader who understands economic policy, monetary policy, fiscal policy, has connections all over the world through different leaders and through other economic institutions, organizations, whatever. That's what we need. Canada needs a manager now to manage us through this crisis, particularly with Trump. So, that's where we are. And I think, we need a serious leader. We don't need guys who've been in politics for their entire life, has not sponsored or done one piece of policy legislation or whatnot, and the only thing he has is axe to tax, axe to tax. And now that Carney's come out and said, well, yeah, we're going to get rid of that tax and we're going to replace with this, he has nothing else to say. And he's afraid because he knows if he says it, he's going to get smashed. And you can imagine in a debate, you got Carney here and you got Pierre Poilievre here talking about economics. I like to see that debate. So you know what? From a leadership perspective, Canada needs to, like I said, I did a video the other day. Canada needs to apply their intelligence and focus on making intelligent decisions and get serious, because we need serious leaders for the times, a serious leader for the times, because we have serious economic crisis happening. So we need somebody who has actual experience in steering an economy through a little bit of chaos.
Okay. All right. The food plane says, I just wish we could all get along. And he just wanted to say, in spite of our differences, voice our opinions for sure. However, it's the United States, not the divided states. And he says, I just want everyone to get along and not be divided over differences. I wish the best for everyone and both countries. Absolutely. Then what you're predicting a Liberal victory, which is what do you think about Premier Ford calling an election at this time?
So I did a TikTok the other day, and I said what Ford did is not leadership. It's called selfishness. Okay. Ford is also now scared of Bonnie Cromley. So he's like, okay, I gotta call election right now while my poll numbers are up, right? But think about this: you're calling an election, okay? You're now calling an election when we're in the midst of an economic crisis. We're in the midst of a tariff crisis because you need a mandate. A mandate to do what? You're the prime minister. You have a majority government.
Your premier of the province.
Your premier. Sorry, your premier of Ontario. You have a majority government. That's your mandate, right? So and then Trump puts on. Then Ford puts on a stupid hat, trying to copy. We don't need gimmicks. We need real leaders. That's the problem. We have people. And this is the social media age that we live in. People play more, not to intellect. They play more to nice stories and gimmicks. And that's the problem that we have. And this is the reason why we're in this situation, is because people don't vote based on their observations and their intellect and making good rational decisions. They vote based on gimmicks and who they like and whatnot. And it's the wrong way to go. So listen. I know, if you're a politician, Ford's a politician, and I understand you have to be opportunistic. It's politics. But, for me at this point in time in Canada, when we're in a real crisis, I think that's a selfish act. And I think that may come back to haunt him.
Okay. Mr. Perry, we're going to let you go because you're on, but really, and any final words you have for our audience, sir?
No, I think listen, just just stay focused. You worry about the things you can control. Worry about doing the things that's in front of you that you can control, and don't expend any energy worrying about others and other people that you can control, because what that does, it serves to distract you, right? So that's about it. And listen, I appreciate
always my pleasure.
And
my pleasure.
Anytime I'm
Absolutely.
If I'm available, I'm available.
Yeah, and just to share with the family here, Perry and I, before we went live, were having conversations of him coming on at least a monthly basis, especially during these times. I think it's very important to get his lens and have us think about things that are going on. So if you want to get a hold of him, there's his contact information on Medium, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, website, etc. Again, it's in the comments section everywhere where you're watching this on replay. If you want to look at the article, there's the link there. Again, the link is in the comments sections on everywhere that we have, everywhere that you're watching this. So, Perry, as always, I want to say, don't just manage your time, manage your energy.
Yep.
Remember to give yourself grace. Hope the family is as always is doing fine.
Yep.
And
yep.
we look
I
forward
appreciate
to more conversations with you as always. So
I appreciate
thank you
that,
very
and
much.
I think my wife will be happy if she's like, oh, he's gonna be on Dr. Vibe more often because he won't be telling me every day. He won't be giving me any political
Well,
science and
look,
history.
if there's
my
anything
wife will-
I
my
don't
wife
want
will
to, I
thank
don't want to
you.
be a home wrecker. I want to be a person that I want to bring a person. So if I can make her happy
You'll make her
indirectly,
happy.
I can work with that. I can
You'll make
work
her
with that.
happy. You'll
That's a
make her
good
happy.
thing.
Anyways,
My brother, as
brother, I
always,
appreciate it.
keep the faith.
Okay.
Take care.
All right, man. You take care.
Bye-bye. All right, family. Woo! Another great conversation. I'm just looking for something quickly here. I want to see something. There's something new I want to add on to when I finish hanging out with people here. Yes. All right. Okay. So as we finish up, there's some more comments here. Okay. Fitness IQ says, I learned a long time ago I can't control anything. Absolutely. And she says, but hopeful that things will get better. Absolutely. We hope too. So a few last things. Okay. Please subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show and hit the notification button. To advertise your business, product, or service on any of the platforms that I'm on, please email me at dr.vibe@thedrbeshow.com. What else do we have today? You can contact me at the dr.vibe@thedrbeshow.com. That's the website. YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, The Dr. Vibe Show. Instagram at The Dr. Vibe Show. X/Twitter at dr.vibe@thedrbeshow, and email dr.vibe@thedrbeshow.com. You can watch replays of this epic conversation on The Dr. Vibe Show, YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, and The Dr. Vibe Show website. That's it. That's it. So as always, live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions, then aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. I also say, don't just manage your time, manage your energy. I'm going to add a new one to that. Make it better. God bless. Peace be well. Keep the faith. While good. And we'll chat with you soon.